What if I told you that who you think you are, or who you are, is just your imagination? It's just an idea. And it's no different to when you imagine an apple or an elephant. Now, the difference between you, the apple, and the elephant is just the connection that you have with these objects, or the very established connection with these objects. And we can clearly see that the you, or this I, has a much stronger, intimate relationship. And so therefore its value is so much higher. And so we don't care very much about the apple or the elephant. However, when it comes to survival, for example, if you are on the verge of starvation, you're about to die and you need some food, all of a sudden, it's not so important who you are anymore. What becomes the main focus is finding that food, and now the relationship with this apple far exceeds any other relationship. Now that very relationship, that very intimacy, also determines the focus in life. So if there is a very strong relationship with the self, and it's very valued and regarded more highly than anything else, then this is the main focus, this is the main paradigm. But what happens when you focus on something so much? What happens is that everything else blurs out. And so in the moment when you are on the verge of dying from starvation and you see that apple, nothing else matters. Everything else just blurs out. Now, yes, I'm using somewhat of an extreme example here. It's a very subtle matter, but this is what happens. And so this is why there is the individualistic, egotistical tendency that we see very often within ourselves and within human beings in general. Because the focus is just the me, the I, everything else blurs out. And so everything in life, every action, everything is done to serve this I. And this becomes so problematic because it negates truth in some sense. And the truth is that if you are so focused on yourself where everything else is blurred out, and you are taking part in certain actions that hurt others, for an example, you cannot see or feel the pain that you have inflicted on the others. And that's a truth. And the fact that you are ignorant to it is an untruth, as though it's not happening, which isn't the case. It's illusory. It is actually happening. If you take part in an action, you speak words that may seem like they serve you, but they are hurting someone else. If you are unable to see that this is hurting someone else, then there is a veil, an illusion. And that illusion needs to be pierced, needs to be ripped, needs to be lifted. So that's very clear that if I say these words, someone else will get hurt. And before you even say these words, you already feel the pain of the other person. This is now where you are free from the illusion and you are not the center of the universe, and so not everything else is not blurred out. So this is why there are so many practices, such as compassion, helping out the needy, helping others in general, gratitude. Gratitude, you're taking that attention away from yourself and you're being grateful for something else. When you are helping someone else, you are actually extending a part of yourself out. And so there is somewhat less of you as you're sharing this you. This you can be in the form of wealth, for an example. You might have some money and you may give a portion of this money to someone else. You are helping them thrive and survive and improve their experience in life. And so it's not about you anymore, it's also about them now. And so this extension actually slowly releases the focus that is so much on yourself that then unblurs everything else. And so there's a deeper sense of clarity. This is the beauty in compassionate work. And then you have something like meditation. When you are meditating and you are observing, all the movement is observed, the thoughts are observed. When they are observed long enough, eventually, that relationship you may have with yourself is seen for what it really is. It's seen and it becomes clear that this relationship is manufactured. You're not born with this relationship. It's been developed over time. And so when that becomes so clear, all of a sudden it's not a you going through life. All of a sudden it's a life that is happening, regardless of where you are. Because this you is no different to any other happening. And you may recognize that this you is no different to the ant that's crawling on the earth, which otherwise you'd see as so insignificant compared to your magnificent life. Now, this might feel somewhat uncomfortable to hear, but that discomfort is the invitation to release the focus on just the you, so that everything else unblurs and becomes clear. At the end of the day, it's somewhat of a paradox, because there's all these dreams and chasing and goals to serve this you. And ultimately, the underlying meaning behind these goals is to basically grab a bigger bite of life. And it feels like you need to grab a bigger bite of life because everything else is blurred out. And so it feels like everything is out of reach. And so this you're trying to drag things into it so that it feels like there is more to life now. But really, letting go of this is a tremendous possibility for you. Because all of a sudden you recognize that you are life and that you are not lacking a single thing. Now, that might not sound very appealing, because you might think, okay, if I do this now, I might not chase after these goals that I've always wanted now. And that's not the purpose here. The purpose is to recognize that fundamentally, your essential being does not require anything. It's complete as is. Life is complete and perfect as is. However, the aspect of the life that is individualistic, is striving towards these goals, is also an aspect of life. And that too is recognized. So really the difference here is that it's not the center of the universe. It's not the focus where everything else blurs out. No, that continues to happen just as everything else continues to happen. And so now you may chase after the goals. You may watch what you say. And you are not just serving yourself, but you are also serving everyone else. So in some way, it's okay to be selfish if you include others, right? But fundamentally, you may also notice that if one awakens to the reality of the manufactured, imagined self for what it really is, one may stop serving the self all the time, yes. But with that, there's a transformation of all the goals and desires you've had. They are now transformed into goals and desires that are there for others anyway. I want to be rich, not so that I can build higher walls, so that I can build longer tables, so that more people can join me. And this is what I mean with that transformation that now takes place. And there's always going to be an inkling, perhaps, of caring about yourself before everything else, but with time, with deeper self-reflection and recognition, that goes away. You become free from you being the center of existence. And you may perhaps realize, I'm not saying you will, you may perhaps realize that that is actually what you've always wanted anyway, the freedom from yourself. So yeah, you are who you think you are is imagined. And so what's the utility? Another reason why this is perhaps ideal to recognize in one's life is because think about every moment of suffering you've ever had in your life. It's always rooted in who you think you are. If someone comes and attacks your belief, your ideology, your religion, your country, and everything else that shapes this who you are, the ego, the identity, you feel pain. But if that isn't there, then it's just a bunch of noise when people say things. You deep down already know that if someone is trying to hurt you with their words, deep down you already know to not take that on board, but it's taken on board for as long as you see yourself as the focus, as the main point, where everything else is blurred out. Life is beautiful, so don't get in the way. Don't have yourself get in the way of life. What's standing between you and life is you. So just recognize that you are life. Thank you so much for watching. This is Hassan from The Spiritual Walks, and we are all on a journey towards the truth.